Welcome back, guys. Today I'll be taking you step by step through my one-man loft build for $200. I suck at asking for help, so I'm pretty good at figuring out ways to do things on my own, and I'll be showing you how I built this loft here today. Now, with some quick back-of-the-napkin math, I'm on my way to Home Depot to purchase less than $200 worth of materials. The only materials going into this loft that I'm not purchasing new will be the screws, which I already own in bulk. For materials, we're buying two 4x4 posts, about 20 8-foot 2x4s, plenty of Simpson ties, and 3 sheets of 3/4 inch OSB. Now, the truth is that we could have gotten away with 2 sheets of OSB instead of 3, given that we're only going to need about 1 foot from the end of that third sheet, but the remaining piece of that sheet I'm going to go ahead and use to make a tabletop to go over my table saw, because I do plan to set this shop up to also be used as something like a parlor of sorts, so that I can get some bar stools, put a top over this table saw, and have a place to sit around and hang out and shoot the breeze. Alright, so the first step to get us off to a solid start is going to be to pick the precise height of the deck and mark our lines with a laser level all the way across. From here on out, we're going to build everything to this line. Now, as you can see, I'm not emptying out the shop to make room to build this loft. I think I can get it done in one day either way, and I'd rather not waste a whole lot of extra time taking stuff out of the shop just to bring it back in, when I can just build around it. Also, quick tip, when you're marking your laser line across the wall, your line that you're marking doesn't have to be absolutely perfectly on the laser, as long as it's pretty damn close most of the way through. When you do go to put that first board on across the length of the line that you marked, you're going to see that it's going to level out. So now basically all that's left for me to do is to finish removing these boxes and bins from the top of the shelf and get that line marked all the way around. And before I move any further at all, I do want to make sure I get all my studs marked. So step one is going to be to attach the ledger board to the wall. This is the main plate that attaches this entire loft to the house. And luckily, since I am doing this to my own house, I can do it however I want. And because I'm not going to have a bunch of people up here, I'm not going to have a bunch of weight up here, and this is essentially just for parts storage, I feel perfectly comfortable just simply attaching my ledger board as a 2x4 in multiple pieces all the way down this wall, simply screwed directly into the studs with 3.5-inch screws. Now, I don't have much in the way of studs on the left and right walls due to a fireplace behind the drywall on the right and an exterior slump block wall on the left. Both of these two walls have only furring strips for the drywall to attach to, so I'm going to be getting creative with the attachment of the side ledgers. What I'll be doing here is applying a thick coat of liquid nail before securing the 2x4 to the furring strips. After I finish the entire project, but before loading any weight on top, I'll go back and add some tapcons to the sides into the masonry beneath, just to make sure that we're super secure. So here's the interesting part. Now I'm going to pre-build and then erect the rest of the main frame in 2 pieces. The first step's going to be to precisely mark the joist location on the ledger at 6 feet from either wall. I'll center a Simpson tie here so that it's ready to accept my pre-built frame when I go to erect it. Then on the front-facing rim joist, at the same 6-foot mark from the edge, I'll securely attach a basic joist to the rim joist so that when I put this rim joist up, the ledger board Simpson tie will line up perfectly with the joist itself, needing only a couple screws to be installed to hold it in place. Once that's measured and built, I'll also attach the main column to that rim joist. And finally, when it's all built and ready, I can lift this entire assembly into place in one fell swoop and tack the joist to the ledger board and tack the rim joist to the side ledger, and the first half of our frame will be complete and erected. And here's what it looks like when you get both the left and the right side put up. All we gotta do now is fill in this center section. And to do that, all we gotta do is just put a nice big spanner along the back side here, and then cut to fit a little piece for the front, and our main frame for this loft is complete. Moving on to one of the more boring parts here, it's time for us to install the rest of the joist hangers. Again, since this project is in my house rather than a client's house, and I'm not going to be storing anything crazy heavy or hosting guests up here, I'm just going to put hangers about every 2 feet. And now that we've got all the hangers installed, we can go ahead and take those joists and pop them down inside each hanger. And by the way, you don't really have to screw these in, but I think it's definitely going to help too, because that's going to help with the entire structure just staying nice and stable. And finally, the last step is just to throw the sheathing up here. You can screw it on or not screw it on, it's your choice, but this is the finished product, and it has added quite a bit of square footage to my shop for $200 and 1 day's work.